It started as a dare, or maybe a joke. My cousin had been teasing me for weeks about how I never talked to anyone at the workshop, how I kept my head buried in carburetors and coffee like that was a personality. So when he said, "Come help me with this client. It'll be fun," I didn't think much of it. I should have known he meant her. The auto repair shop wasn't built for elegance. The air smelled of oil and faint rain, the kind that soaks into concrete but never really dries. It was late afternoon, soft light slanting through the open bay doors, dust hanging like mist. That's when she stepped out of her car, dark green sedan, clean but old enough to have stories. She was composed. Mid-40s, maybe. Hair tied back, but not tightly. Strands loose like she didn't care if anyone saw her imperfections. She wore a plain gray blouse and jeans that looked expensive without trying. The kind of woman who's been through enough to stop pretending she needs to impress anyone. My cousin greeted her first. I just watched. She smiled at him politely, but when her eyes moved to me, something in the air changed. Not in a movie way. There were no violins, no slow-motion glances. Just a second too long of eye contact, long enough for me to forget what I was holding. The wrench slipped, clanged against the floor. She laughed softly. "Tough day." "Just slippery tools," I said. "Smooth. Real smooth." My cousin disappeared into the back to fetch a part, leaving me to handle the intake. She leaned against the counter, crossing her arms lightly, not defensive, just at ease. Confident. I could feel myself trying too hard to appear the same. "What's wrong with the car?" I asked. She hesitated, eyes lowering like she was editing her thoughts. "It keeps stalling. Every time I think it's fixed, it stops again." She wasn't talking about the car, or maybe that's just what I wanted to believe. Her tone had that kind of softness that makes ordinary words sound heavier. When she handed me her keys, our fingers brushed. Not deliberate. Accidental, probably, but something in my chest stuttered, like the car she'd just described. I cleared my throat, too quickly. "Should be an easy fix," I said. "Might take a few hours." "I can wait," she replied. She sat on the small bench by the wall, reading something on her phone. I tried not to stare, but I caught fragments. The curve of her wrist, the rhythm of her breathing, the way she occasionally looked up and caught me not looking away fast enough. The rain picked up outside. The sound filled the quiet between us, a kind of shared silence that felt strangely full. My cousin returned briefly, cracked a joke, and left again. We were alone. "You're quieter than most mechanics," she said finally. "I guess I talk more when there's something worth saying." That made her smile, a small, knowing smile that didn't reach her eyes. "Then don't waste your words." I wanted to answer, but I didn't. She went back to her phone, though I could tell she wasn't really reading anymore. Neither was I working properly. My hands moved, but my mind stayed near that bench, near her stillness, her unspoken composure. When she finally stood to leave, she thanked me, said it with that effortless grace people have when they mean it. Then she hesitated, like she was about to add something but thought better of it. I watched her walk out into the drizzle, her gray blouse darkening at the shoulders. And I don't know why, but I felt something small click inside me. Not like love, not yet. More like curiosity that wouldn't fade. That night, when my cousin asked how it went, I just said, "Fine." But in my head, I was still replaying that moment. The sound of her laugh, the touch of her fingers, and that one unfinished sentence she never said. And somehow, that silence felt louder than anything else. She came back the next week, said something about a new sound in the engine, though I think we both knew that wasn't really why. The morning was humid, light spilling unevenly through the garage windows, catching in the dust that always hung in the air. I was tightening a bolt when her car pulled in. Same green sedan, same faint perfume that somehow cut through the smell of grease and gasoline. She stepped out, sunglasses perched low, hair loose this time. There was something different, not how she looked, but how she carried herself. A little slower, like her thoughts were somewhere else. "Didn't expect to see you again so soon," I said, wiping my hands on a rag. She smiled, but it didn't quite reach her eyes. Neither did I. My cousin wasn't around that day, just me and her and the low hum of a fan that kept clicking every few seconds. She leaned on the counter, eyes moving over the shop, like she was searching for something to talk about. I noticed the faint tremor in her fingers as she tucked a strand of hair behind her ear. Long day? I asked. Her laugh came small, tired. Long week. Maybe long life. She said it like she didn't mean to, then caught herself and smiled quickly, covering it up. But I heard it. That crack in her tone. The kind that doesn't come from exhaustion, but from trying too hard to stay composed. I wanted to ask what she meant. I didn't. Instead, I checked under her hood, pretending to focus. The engine was fine, too fine. She hadn't come for that. You don't really need a repair, I said quietly. I know. I froze, then looked at her. She met my eyes, then looked away first, fast, like she regretted saying it. She sat on the bench again, the same spot as last time, tracing her thumb over the edge of her phone. There was something in the way she held herself, half there, half trying to disappear. I stole glances between tightening bolts. Her hands were elegant, but restless. She kept her legs crossed, then uncrossed, as though her body couldn't decide whether to stay or run. And when she laughed softly at something I said about old cars being more honest than people, she bit her lip halfway through, like she'd forgotten how to relax. Do you ever regret fixing things that don't stay fixed? She asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. You mean cars? She smiled faintly. Sure, cars. I didn't answer because I wasn't sure what to say. Instead, I handed her the rag I'd been holding. She looked at it, then at me, and for a second, she didn't take it. Then she did, her fingers brushing mine again. This time, neither of us moved away. The air felt heavier, not loud or dramatic, just full. I could see it in her eyes, that small flicker of something she was trying not to feel. It wasn't attraction, not exactly. More like recognition. Two people standing too close to something they weren't supposed to name. When she finally spoke, her voice was softer. You should charge more for your time. Maybe, I said, smiling faintly. But not for you. She looked up sharply, then down again. And before she left, she whispered, so quietly I almost missed it, don't say things like that. Then she was gone. But her words stayed. Not as a warning, as a promise I already knew I wouldn't keep. It rained the entire evening, the kind of steady, quiet rain that makes the world feel smaller. I was locking up when I saw her car's headlights through the blur of water on the glass. She stepped inside, damp hair curling around her face, her blouse clinging lightly at the shoulders. Sorry, she said. I didn't know where else to go. I didn't ask what she meant. Just nodded and held the door until she was fully inside. The shop smelled of metal and coffee that had been sitting too long. The rain drummed against the roof in an irregular rhythm, soft but insistent. Her voice was low when she spoke again. It started stalling on the way home. I panicked. You did the right thing, I said. You're safe here. I don't know why that last word slipped out, safe. It sounded heavier than I meant it to. She looked at me like she heard it too. I checked her car, but I knew even before opening the hood. It wasn't the engine this time. It was something else. Something quieter, heavier, sitting between us. You should sit, I said. She hesitated. Then, softly, only if you do too. So we sat on the workbench, side by side, the rain loud enough to fill every silence we didn't know how to bridge. Her phone buzzed once. She glanced at the screen, then flipped it over. Everything okay? I asked. She exhaled through her nose. Just history. Her tone had that kind of stillness that made me want to ask more. But I didn't. I've learned that some people protect their pain by making it sound unimportant. She rubbed her palms together, then stared at them like she didn't recognize her own hands. You ever feel like you're living a life that doesn't fit anymore? I didn't answer right away. I could feel her watching me, not searching for comfort, just honesty. Every day, I finally said. She smiled faintly, but it looked sad. You're too young for that. Maybe age just makes it harder to admit. That made her laugh, quietly, almost a sigh. Her shoulder brushed mine when she leaned back, and neither of us moved. The warmth between us was small, but impossible to ignore. A gust of wind rattled the doors, and the lights flickered. The sound of rain filled everything. For a moment, the world felt like it had narrowed down to this bench. Her perfume, the sound of her breath, the distance we weren't closing. Then her phone buzzed again, louder this time. The name on the screen lit up before she could hide it. Mark. Her smile faltered. I should, but she didn't finish. She just stared at the phone, thumb hovering, not pressing anything. Then she set it face down again, slowly. Someone waiting for you? I asked quietly. She shook her head. No, not really. Just someone who used to. I wanted to say something. Anything. To pull her back from whatever place her thoughts had gone. Instead, I reached for her hand without thinking. My fingers stopped just shy of touching hers, the air between them warm, trembling. She looked at me then. Really looked, and for a second, I thought she'd close the gap. But the lights flickered again, and she stood up too quickly. I should go before the storm gets worse, she said, her voice soft but final. I nodded, pretending to be okay with it. But as she left, her reflection flashed briefly in the glass, her hand hesitating on the door before she disappeared into the rain. And for the rest of the night, I couldn't stop thinking about that almost. The moment that almost became something neither of us was ready to name. It had been 2 weeks since the storm, and the shop felt emptier without her visits, even when it was full of noise. I tried not to think about her, but every hum of an engine sounded like her car. Every scent of rain pulled me back to that bench, that almost. Then one evening, just before closing, I saw her again, standing outside, under the flickering yellow light, umbrella in hand but not open, like she hadn't decided whether to come in or leave. I opened the door. You're getting soaked. She hesitated, then stepped inside, the smell of rain following her in. Her hair was damp, her eyes tired. Sorry, she said softly. I didn't plan this. It's okay, I replied, even though I knew it wasn't. Not anymore. She didn't bring her car this time. No excuse. Just silence. She sat on the same bench, clasping her hands together like she was holding something invisible. I leaned against the counter, pretending to sort tools I'd already cleaned twice. After a long pause, she said, You're quiet today. I'm always quiet. No, she said, looking up at me. You're careful. That word hung between us, sharp and true. I didn't know how to respond. Finally, I asked, Why do you keep coming here? Her lips parted, then closed again. She looked away. I don't know. You could take your car anywhere. There are better shops. I don't come for the car. The sound of rain outside grew louder, filling the silence she left. My throat felt tight. I wanted to ask what she did come for, but I already knew. When she looked back at me, her expression wasn't flirtation. It was something else, something quieter, rawer. What are we doing? She asked, voice barely above a whisper. I didn't have an answer. I just stood there, pulse loud in my ears. She wasn't accusing, she was pleading, almost. Like she wanted me to give her a reason to stop before it went too far. I don't know, I said finally. Maybe nothing. Then why does it feel like something? Her eyes were glassy now, reflecting the dim light above us. For a moment, I saw everything she wasn't saying. The loneliness she disguised as composure, the years she carried quietly on her back. I took a step closer. She didn't move away. The space between us felt alive, charged with everything we hadn't said for weeks. I could feel the warmth of her breath, faint and uneven. She exhaled, shaking her head. You're too young to get tangled in someone like me. I tried to laugh, but it came out thin. And you're too smart to be here right now. That made her close her eyes, just for a heartbeat, like my words hurt more than they should have. When she opened them, they were softer, sadder. I wish I didn't feel seen, she whispered. It makes it harder to go back to being invisible. I wanted to tell her she wasn't invisible. Not to me, not ever, but my throat wouldn't let me. So I just nodded, once, helplessly. She picked up her umbrella, not looking at me. Then maybe it's better if I stop coming. And before I could stop her, she was at the door again, the rain catching her hair, her voice barely audible as she stepped out. It's easier to lose something before it becomes real. The sound of the door closing echoed long after she was gone. And for the first time, I realized silence doesn't just mean absence. Sometimes it's the sound of someone trying not to break. She didn't come by for almost a month. The days blurred together. Oil, metal, coffee, silence. I told myself it was better this way, but every time the bell above the door rang, I looked up too fast. Every time it wasn't her, I looked away before anyone could notice. Then, one afternoon, she did come back. Quietly. No car again. Just her, standing by the door with that hesitant half-smile that said I shouldn't be here and I couldn't stay away. I froze mid-step. Didn't expect to see you. She nodded, her voice steady but too careful. I wasn't planning to come. There was a paper bag in her hand. She placed it on the counter. I brought lunch. You always forget to eat. I stared at her. You remembered that? I remember small things, she said. It's the big ones I try to forget. We ate in the corner of the shop, where the air smelled faintly of rubber and dust. She picked at her sandwich more than she ate it. Her posture was different, not cold, just tired in a way that didn't look fixable. After a while, she pulled out her phone, scrolled, and then stopped. Her face changed, not sharply, just fell, like the memory on the screen had pulled the air out of her lungs. Without thinking, I asked, "You okay?" She hesitated, then turned the screen toward me. A photo, grainy, old. A man in his late 20s, smiling beside her car. Her car. He used to fix it for me, she said quietly. Before the accident. The word hit me like a whisper that was somehow louder than a shout. Was he? She nodded once. My husband. I didn't know what to say. The photo blurred in my mind. Her smile then, softer, younger, unguarded. I could feel something sharp twist inside me. Not jealousy, not pity. Just the strange ache of understanding too late. She kept talking, voice steady but thin. He died 8 years ago. I told myself I'd stop going back to places that reminded me of him. Her eyes flicked up to mine. Then I met you. For a long time, neither of us spoke. The rain outside had started again, slow, delicate drops hitting the metal roof. Finally, she whispered, "You remind me of the way he used to look at me, before everything fell apart." I swallowed hard. I'm not him. I know, she said. That's what makes it harder. Her hand trembled slightly as she picked up the phone again, but she didn't turn it off this time. The photo stayed lit between us, the three of us, in a way that didn't make sense. Then she did something small, almost invisible. She deleted the picture, just tapped and erased it, then set the phone down. I thought I'd feel guilty, she said, eyes unfocused. But I just feel free. And that scares me. I didn't touch her, didn't say anything. I just watched her exhale, like she'd been holding her breath for years. When she finally looked at me again, her voice was fragile but steady. Whatever this is, she said, it isn't about replacing anyone. It's about remembering that I'm still here. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't a beginning or an ending. It was something quieter, a shift, the kind you don't see coming, until your whole world tilts and nothing feels the same again. She came by near closing again, no message, no reason. Just appeared in the doorway like she'd always belonged there. The day had been long. My hands were stained with grease, the kind that doesn't wash out right away, and my shirt stuck to my skin. I almost told her to wait outside while I cleaned up, but something in her face stopped me. She wasn't sad exactly, just undone. Her eyes softer, edges blurred. The kind of tired that comes after trying too hard to stay composed for too long. I didn't think you'd still be here, she said. I live here, remember? That made her smile faintly. That half-smile she only gave when she didn't want to admit she was relieved. I wiped my hands and nodded toward the back room. You want coffee? It's terrible, but it's hot. She hesitated, then followed. The small break room smelled faintly of dust and burnt sugar. The single bulb above us hummed, soft and uneven. We sat at the little metal table, 2 mugs between us, steam curling into the quiet. Neither of us spoke for a long time. We didn't need to. Finally, she said, "You know this can't go anywhere." I nodded. I know. And still, I know. That was it. No explanations, no dramatics. Just honesty, bare and trembling in the stillness. She looked down at her mug, tracing the rim with her finger. You remind me what it's like to feel alive again. Not young, just awake. I watched her hand, the way it moved slowly, unconsciously, like she didn't realize what she was confessing through her gestures. I wanted to tell her I felt the same, that I hadn't looked forward to anything in months except when she might walk through that door, but the words felt too fragile for saying. So instead, I reached across the table. Not fast, not deliberate, just a small movement until my fingers rested near hers. Close enough to feel the warmth, the tremor. She didn't pull away. Her thumb brushed mine, barely. A gesture so light it might have been accidental if it hadn't lasted just a second too long. Neither of us breathed. Then she looked up. Her eyes, the same eyes that once guarded everything, were unguarded now. She wasn't hiding, wasn't pretending. Just there. I don't want to ruin you, she whispered. You won't, I said. You already didn't. Something in her expression cracked. Not sadness, not joy, just that quiet recognition of being understood without defense. She exhaled, shakily, and leaned forward, resting her forehead against my shoulder. No kiss, no promise, just stillness, the kind that says this happened, and it's enough. Outside, the rain began again, soft, constant, familiar, the kind that never demands attention, only fills the silence. We sat there until it stopped, until the light above us flickered out. When she finally stood, she didn't say goodbye. She just brushed her hand against mine one last time, deliberate now, and walked out into the dark. And somehow, that quiet moment felt fuller than any confession could. Not an ending, not exactly love, just the soft collapse into something we both already knew had been there all along. It's been 6 months since I last saw her. She didn't come back to the shop, and I never tried to find her. Not out of pride, not out of fear, but because I think we both knew that what we shared wasn't meant to stretch beyond that quiet, perfect collapse. I still fix cars. Same place, same tools. But the days don't feel the same anymore. There's a stillness now, not emptiness, just space. Like something inside me finally stopped buzzing. Sometimes, when the late light hits the walls a certain way, I think about that night. About the way she leaned her forehead against my shoulder, how neither of us spoke, and how that silence somehow said everything. I think that's what real connection does. It doesn't burn, it lingers. It doesn't take from you. It changes what you notice. Before her, I moved through life half asleep, fixing what was broken without ever asking if it should be fixed. But she taught me that not everything is meant to be repaired. Some things are just meant to be felt. She told me once she didn't want to ruin me. But she didn't. She made me notice the way people hide behind laughter, the way pain settles quietly into posture, the way longing can look like peace if you hold it long enough. I think she learned something too, that being seen doesn't always lead to disaster. That sometimes, it just means you were brave enough to exist fully for a while. Every so often, a green sedan passes by the shop, and my heart stumbles for half a second. It's never her. And yet, the moment always feels like a reminder. She was real, we were real, and that's enough. The guys here joke that I've gone quiet lately. They don't know that quiet can be sacred. That silence, when it's shared, can stay inside you long after words would have faded. I don't miss her the way I thought I would. I miss the way the world felt when she was near, sharper, slower, alive. She didn't fill a void, she showed me where it was. And that kind of truth doesn't vanish. It becomes a mirror. Sometimes I imagine she's somewhere far from here, maybe standing in front of another repair shop, or walking through rain with her hair loose and unbothered, smiling to herself for no reason at all. And if she ever thinks of me, I hope it's not with regret, just a quiet understanding that for a little while, we found something neither of us was looking for, and that was enough. Maybe that's what love really is. Not the forever kind, just the kind that stays, quietly, even after it ends.